If you've ever explored aviation history, chances are you've heard of an extraordinary American pilot, Amelia Earhart, a name that symbolizes bravery and a passion for exploring the skies. Amelia was born on July 24, 1897, in Atchison, a small town in Kansas. From an early age, she stood out from the crowd. Even as a young girl, she exuded a sense of adventure, fearlessness, and a determination to forge her own path, despite her family enduring hardships and her father dealing with personal issues. But for Amelia, her sights were set on something big. In 1928, Amelia made a massive splash in the history books by becoming the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. This accomplishment went beyond setting a personal record. It shattered barriers in a male-dominated field. Yet Amelia's journey didn't end there. She continually sought out new challenges and adventures, pushing herself to explore even greater distances. Now, the part of Amelia's life that gets people talking the most is her daring attempt in 1937 to fly around the world. She aimed to do something no woman had ever done. However, as she flew over the Pacific Ocean, heading for a tiny location called Howland Island, something went wrong. Suddenly, Amelia Earhart and her navigator, Fred Noonan, vanished, leaving behind a story shrouded in mystery. One interesting theory about the end of their journey is known as the Gardner Island hypothesis. According to this theory, when Amelia and Fred couldn't locate Howland Island, they may have attempted to land on Gardner Island, now called Nikomaroro. It speculates that they landed on a reef near the island and sent out distress calls via radio for several days. Sadly, help didn't arrive in time, leaving them stranded. The International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, or TIGER for short, has been a big supporter of this idea. They've done a lot of research and gone on many trips to Nikomaroro, suggesting that Earhart and Noonan might have managed to live there for a short while as castaways. The story takes an even more interesting turn when you consider the coconut crabs that live on the island. TIGER suggests that if Earhart met her end on the island, these massive crabs might have scattered her remains. In 2007, they conducted an experiment using a pig carcass to simulate how coconut crabs might disperse remains, aiming to unravel the mystery of why so little evidence was discovered later on. Adding to the intrigue, bones were discovered on the island in 1940, and some researchers believe these bones could be Earhart's. But then the clues mysteriously vanished when a guy named John Catta found some old documents showing that the discovery of the bones was actually part of a U.S. Navy survey and had nothing to do with Earhart. Rick Gillespie from TIGER admitted this was a big deal, making them rethink the whole coconut crab theory. This brings us to the fascinating world of coconut crabs. These amazing creatures are far more intriguing than your typical small crabs. They're called coconut crabs because they can break open coconuts with their strong claws, even though they don't heavily rely on coconuts for sustenance. What sets them apart is their impressive climbing ability, allowing them to reach all kinds of ripe fruits high up in the trees. Now, on the cooler side of the spectrum, we have the king crab, residing in the cold waters of the northern Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. These crabs are mostly loved from October to February because that's when they gear up to shed their old shells in a process known as molting, resulting in exceptionally meaty legs. Indulging in a whole king crab means enjoying about 36.5% of its body weight in delectable meat, a generous portion compared to other crab varieties. When you compare coconut crabs and king crabs, it's like looking at the champions of land and sea. Coconut crabs can weigh up to 9 pounds and have legs that reach over 3 feet, making them the biggest arthropod living on land. Meanwhile, king crabs are impressive too, weighing in between 6 to 20 pounds, with leg spans stretching up to 6 feet, earning them the status of giants in the ocean. These two types of crabs really show us how diverse and adaptable crabs can be. Coconut crabs also possess unique breathing organs and can live on land for up to 60 years, while king crabs are renowned for their ability to flourish in icy waters and their delectable meat. Their different lifestyles, dietary habits, and sizes render each of them a marvel of nature in their own right. Speaking of beginnings, every crab starts its journey at sea. Upon hatching, the eggs give rise to zoea, also known as baby crab larvae, which drift along with the ocean currents. For several weeks, these zoea undergo transformations, shedding their shells multiple times until they gradually resemble the crabs we recognize. Following the zoea stage, crabs enter the megalopus stage, resembling miniature versions of adult crabs. This phase marks a critical transition from their oceanic habitat to life on land. Upon reaching the shore, they transform into juvenile crabs. They start by seeking shelter in empty snail shells or similar habitats, just like starting out in a compact studio apartment. This humble beginning sets the stage for the development of the coconut crab, the largest land-dwelling arthropod known to us. These young crabs, sort of like hermit crabs in their early days, eventually outgrow their temporary shelters in search of a more robust outer shell, showcasing their growth. They feast on a diet of fruits and nuts, including seeds, and occasionally scavenge items from fallen trees. Adapted for terrestrial life, they breathe through specialized lungs called branchiostegal lungs, leaving their aquatic origins behind. In 2016, a team of researchers led by Shinichiro Oka made a fascinating discovery about the coconut crab. They discovered that these crabs possess incredible pinch strength, which increases as they grow larger, peaking at a force of 3,300 newtons for the largest specimens. This strength is so extraordinary that it surpasses the bite force of most terrestrial animals, second only to alligators. It enables them to consume tough-shelled coconuts and other items that many other animals cannot manage. Now let's talk about Christmas Island. It's this incredible place that's mostly a national park filled with unique animals and plants. It's way closer to Indonesia than Australia, sitting on a massive underwater mountain. This makes the island have really steep cliffs and a high rainforest-covered plateau. Visiting Christmas Island is an amazing experience. People call it the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean because it's bursting with life, like the famous red crabs, seabirds, whale sharks, and stunning coral reefs. It takes about 4 hours to fly there from Perth, but it's worth it, especially to see the red crab's migration to the sea, which is an incredible natural event. Even David Attenborough, a famous British broadcaster and biologist, said watching these crabs migrate is one of the most unforgettable things he's ever seen on TV. So there's this family who decided to have a peaceful picnic on a gorgeous island, but suddenly ended up being surrounded by these really big coconut crabs. Yes, these crabs are big, and they're known for being a bit cheeky, often stealing food, which is why they're also called robber crabs. But even with these unexpected guests, the family just kept on with their barbecue, sharing the space with these giant crabs. It's a funny story that shows these crabs aren't really out to bother people. They're just curious and, well, a bit opportunistic when it comes to food. But these crabs' daring behavior goes beyond just showing up at picnics. There was one time in the early 90s when something really odd happened with the Australian Army and coconut crabs on Christmas Island. The Army was doing some training, and suddenly a brand new rifle they'd just given out went missing. Everyone first thought it was stolen, but it turns out that a coconut crab had actually pulled the rifle away from their camp. These crabs have an amazing sense of smell and are known to do really unexpected things because they're curious and strong. Sadly, it's not all fun for these coconut crabs on Christmas Island. They are in big trouble because of yellow crazy ants. These ants aren't native to the area, as they were accidentally introduced in the early 20th century and have been wreaking havoc ever since. These yellow crazy ants form massive colonies, monopolize resources, and with their acidic spray have resulted in the deaths of millions of crabs, disrupting the island's natural balance. Crabs are really important there because they eat dead leaves and help keep the soil healthy. But with fewer crabs around, there's too much leaf litter piling up. This changes the forest floor and harms the variety of life on the island. With the crabs gone, small plants start growing everywhere, making it hard for other animals to live there. To combat this menace, Parks Australia and La Trobe University have joined forces for an innovative project. They're introducing micro-wasps from Malaysia to target the ants' food supplies, aiming to reduce ant populations and provide native species like the coconut crab with a fighting chance. It's a smart approach to maintain balance on the island's ecosystem and safeguard its distinctive creatures such as the captivating coconut crab. To truly care for the fascinating coconut crab, it's essential to comprehend their distinctive behaviors, communication methods, and social interactions. Protecting these crabs and the stunning tropical islands they inhabit is important if we wish to preserve their existence, and by dedicating our efforts to this cause, we ensure that these incredible creatures can be admired and studied by future generations, maintaining their status as integral components of the natural wonders of our world.